Women get to a point in life where we just don't care. We've been through the BS. We're burnout and done playing by the rules. Midlife is our time. We're fearless, confident, and ready to blow it all up for more. We are female and dangerous. I'm Jamesyn, your host and certified coach at theboldlife.coach. The word on the street is that midlife women do not care. We're menopausal. We're struggling to hold everything together. We're tired of trying to be perfect. We're done with all of the petty BS. We don't care what others think. You may have seen the viral Instagram phenomena. It's called the We Do Not Care Club, started by @JustBeingMelanie on Instagram. She's a very funny lady. She gets on there and talks about the difficulties of premenopause and how she just does not care any longer about the little things in life. Like if she looks crazy shopping at the grocery store, if her kids don't want to bathe, etc., etc. Essentially, the message is that we're doing our best to get by, and we don't have the bandwidth to worry about all of this petty stuff. We're supposed to have it all, do it all, be all to everyone, and look fabulous doing it. And it's become abundantly clear. Women all around the world feel similarly. Some of the We Do Not Care Club posts have achieved over 100,000 likes per post. Thousands of women are out there resonating with her, and they add in the comments all of the things that they currently do not care about. It's very funny. These are midlife, pre-menopausal to post-menopausal moms, wives, career women, singles, all women. None of us seem to be able to hide from a long list of obligations in our lives. But what does it really mean to not care? I would argue that saying I don't care is similar to the way that we express anger. We're angry about this, we're angry about that, but really it's an umbrella emotion. We use it to dump all of our complex feelings and frustrations into, because it's easy to express anger. Like it's also easy to say, I don't care, when usually there are a ton of deeper, more specific emotions underneath that just haven't been dealt with. Instead of dealing with the specific issues that bother us in our lives, we often let them pile up until we just can't take it anymore. But by that point, it feels like everything is going wrong. Then we explode in, I don't care. I don't care. When in fact, the opposite is true. We care a lot. It's just that instead of focusing on what we really care about, we feel stuck having to focus all of our time and energy on things that we don't care about. The petty stuff, the stupid rules, the stuff we don't like filling our lives with, the frustrating tasks and the people that we deal with, the decisions and irritating things we feel like have chosen us. It's a lot easier to say that we don't care about things we have to do, when instead, the reality is that we are really upset at ourselves. Why? Why would we be upset at ourselves, you ask? Well, for putting ourselves in the situations that we put ourselves into and then later decide that we don't like. We have the ability to choose how and where we spend our time, don't we? The energy that we choose to give to things and people. We choose the work we do. We choose the commitments that we make. When we lose sight of the fact that we have chosen our lives, like we did this to ourselves, we get frustrated. We lose power. We feel guilty for not performing everything with a smile. The positive, though, is that we can choose to take back our power, take back our time, our choices, and our futures at any time. That's exciting. How, you say? How can I take back my power? Well, I've set myself up for disaster. I shouldn't have gotten those 4 puppies. I shouldn't have said I would be the little league team mom. Whatever the obligations you are now regretting. Well, today I'm going to share 3 strategies to take your time back and put the focus back on things that you want to prioritize. We're talking about prioritization and planning. This is just one podcast, though. Come on, people, we cannot solve all of the problems today. But if you do want to go deeper, if you really want to figure out how to truly get unstuck in your life, reach out to me at theboldlife.coach for a strategy call. Today, we'll talk about prioritization and planning proactively. So let's talk about need to haves versus nice to haves. You have a million things to do, and you probably don't want to do a high percentage of them. Look at your calendar, or if you don't have an actual calendar, the virtual calendar in your mind. How many of these things do you really have to do? Let's be real with ourselves. There are likely a variety of items on your to-do list, some really urgent and important, and then others not so much. You have work-related items, errands, parental duties like driving your kids to practices, cleaning, cooking, paying bills, fixing things or managing people who are planning to fix things around the house, self-care, exercise, and other maintenance like hair appointments or getting your nails done. So right now, just look at this week on your calendar. Or if you don't have one, then list out all of the items that you have planned for this week, events, to-dos, etc. Which of these items are need to haves versus nice to haves? On my need to have list, I have things like work. There's specific windows, so I've got that blocked off. Driving my son to school and practices, I've got that blocked off. Paying bills, only the ones that are due this week are on this week's list. Meals that I have to cook, I, unlike many, do not cook by a schedule and sit down with my family every night to eat at a certain time. I'm sort of part wild animal in this way, but I like that for me. I'm happy with my reasons for doing that, and so I would not put meals on my calendar. And a back to school meeting that I have to attend, lest I miss it altogether. I put exercises. I've got my club Pilates classes that I schedule and therefore must attend as a bare minimum commitment. But I don't schedule 5 or 6 of them that I'm not sure that I can get to. I schedule only the ones that I have committed to and know I'm going to get to. I've also scheduled the ones that I know as a bare minimum I need to maintain my muscle mass, my physical fitness, and my mental sanity. On my nice to have list, I've got a few personal appointments, exercise that I would like to do at my most capable. So maybe instead of 3 times going to Club Pilates, I am really thinking here about 5 Pilates classes and walking my dogs every day for a half hour. Do I think that all of those things will happen? No, they're really nice to haves for me. And so just something to think about at this point. Cleaning, paying bills that are due later, not the ones for this week, and meeting up with an old friend for lunch. Something that I've been planning to do but don't have on my calendar. I also have things that I should do, like fix-it items around the house. For example, I've got an oven with 2 thermometers. One of those is broken, and I should order parts for it, but I don't have to. It's not keeping me from cooking. There's another oven, and I don't want to. It's involving a lot of hassles. The reality is that you can continue on living with a messy house, with your oven thermometer broken, with the laundry not done, just ordering Uber Eats. You can put your nails off for another week. You can say no to the lunch appointments that you don't want to go to. Your kids may be committed to multiple activities per week, but in actuality, you could actually skip all of those activities for a week if you really felt like you needed to. You could probably even move around a few work meetings until next week if you feel particularly overloaded there. Or better, take a sick day or 2 to get your mental health together. The point is that the world will not stop spinning on its axis if you put a gigantic pause on your life, especially if it means prioritizing what is most important, your mental and physical health. We often overestimate our own capacity, and then we feel guilty about it later. In the past, I had a habit of biting off more than I could chew. In the high energy weeks, I would make a bunch of appointments, get very ambitious, sign my kid up for all the activities, commit to social events, going out to drinks, or maybe even a weekend trip with a friend. And then I'd get back totally behind, stressed out about the week to come. I overloaded myself and would quickly go from stressed out to burnout. Then I was worse off from where I started. As a last resort, I'd then swing completely in the opposite direction, recognizing that I was in emotional dire straits. I'd reschedule all of the extra plans that I had for the week to rest. I was now in reaction mode instead of being proactive and intentional about my priorities and life planning. Things were very chaotic. The worst part about this way of living is that when you do actually give yourself a break, when you take the rest, when you cut down on the amount of obligations that you've set up for yourself this week, you don't even get to feel good about it because you're too busy feeling guilty about not performing, about not doing what you said you would do, about being a parent, for ditching practices, whatever it is. You can't even enjoy it because not doing what you said you would do makes you feel guilty and makes you feel like a failure. At least it did me. But what if you were to be proactive and intentional in your planning all of the time, and you could prevent this type of overload in the first place? What a concept. First, you need an actual calendar. So I do use Google Calendar, which I switched to a couple years back after I finally put my paper-based planner to rest. I loved writing in my paper calendar, but I just felt like it was easier to have a Google Calendar in my phone, at my computer, anywhere I was at anytime I needed to, and then I had no excuse for not using it. But if you love a good paper calendar, do that. So first, what I want you to do is to calendar everything. Write out everything that you have to do, that you must do, that you are required to do in order to keep your bare minimum quality of life going. So you would do this in the days listed in your calendar for this week. And first, just go week by week. More to come on why that will be important later. So in your calendar, day by day, you should have time blocked for each of the calendar events, each of the tasks and to-dos that you really need to accomplish this week. And I would encourage you to go on the light side. Think about your bare minimums as opposed to over projecting your capacity. Then you're going to be left with a lot of other to-dos, events, options, maybes, could, shoulds, things that you may want to schedule but don't need to schedule. Put those in the notes section, or sometimes it's a portion on the right side of the calendar, a bunch of lines, but anywhere you can write down your nice to haves. You may have so many nice to haves that you need an actual other piece of paper to write down your list of nice to haves. If that's what you need, then go ahead and do that. It's better than having them in the calendar if you don't intend to get to them. We could spend a ton of time on calendaring alone, but this is a good start to know simply what are the things that you have to do in order to keep your life running, bare minimum, and know that everything else is just an option. So that's the first item. But how do you plan in advance for your future energy levels? You might say, how am I supposed to know if I'm going to have energy in 2 weeks? I booked this hair appointment. I know it's going to be a little bit of a shuffle getting there with driving responsibilities and work meetings. How am I supposed to know if things are going to come up or not? Well, back when I was committing myself to much more than I could handle, the reason was that I was thinking with my current level of energy at the time. I also wasn't accounting for the work meetings that might come up, for the downtime I might need to rest, and for the energetic highs and lows that are a natural part of a woman's monthly cycle. Recently, I was listening to this podcast where a hormone health coach was guesting, and she was talking about how women's energy cycles are on a 28-day cycle following their hormone cycles. She shares this concept called cycle syncing, and I'm going to put her contact information, her Instagram and podcast in the show notes. Basically, there are some times of the month where you have more energy and times when you have less, and it's geared to your cycle. She works with women to help them sync their work and life duties alongside their cycles, instead of doing what we usually do, which is try to force ourselves to perform well all month long at the highest level every day, nonstop. So the stages that she shares are menstrual, follicular, ovulation, and luteal. So at the beginning, you've got menstruation, right? Then you go into the follicular phase, which lasts until you ovulate, and then you go into the luteal cycle and repeat. So the first phase, the menstrual phase, it really starts on day 1 of your period. You're in menstruation. She says that during this time, you may be more tired, unwell, maybe you're cranky, in some pain, and you might spend this time being more introspective and resting, taking it easy for a few days. She compares this to the season of winter, thinking about how during this time you're laying low, you're not forcing a lot of outside activity. And when it comes to your schedule, you're probably not overdoing it or over planning for this time of your month. The next phase is the follicular phase. So this is when hormones are low and they begin to rise. She describes this time as your creative spring. You might have a lot of creative energy and motivation during this time. And developing a strategy during this time of month would be smart because you've got the energy to do it. You probably also have more energy to exercise, cook those healthy meals. This is probably a good time to get creative work done as you'll be inspired and motivated. The ovulation phase is next. This is typically during the middle of your cycle, and she calls it inner summer. You're glowing, probably feel pretty good, you're looking good to yourself, and you should use this time to capitalize on feeling your best because it doesn't happen every week of the month. Perhaps you could use this time by going out to social events. This is the good time to meet up with friends, amping up your exercise because you're really feeling your best. So you can plan for that in your calendar. Next is the luteal phase. This is the phase where your body's either preparing for pregnancy or it's not. You might start to feel like nesting, right? Or where your body is doing the prep work like it does when women start preparing for pregnancy. This time of month, it makes sense to check items off your to-do list. Clean up, clear out, get your need-to-dos done, and maybe even some nice-to-haves. She calls it the get shit done phase. But remember, when the cycle starts all over again is the following week. So the idea is to get as much as done possible when you're feeling up to it, because very soon your body's going to kick you back down to the rest stage. So how can you take this information into your calendaring? Well, you can get in front of the month, understanding that you might feel higher energy during some weeks and lower during others. You might start tracking your energy levels. One thing that she did say was that if you're on birth control of any sort, it sort of levels out your hormones. And so it may be trickier to use in that case. Similarly, if you're going through menopause or you're post-menopause, your emotions and hormones may be fluctuating a little bit out of whack, if you will. Either way, you'll have to test your energy cycles, but you can use this as a starting point. By knowing that your body's physically working for or against your productivity, it can be liberating. Instead of feeling guilty or like you're failing at everything you do, embrace this information, embrace the changes that you naturally go through, and plan for them in advance. This concept of cycle syncing was pretty enlightening for me because one of the most common things that women tend to do is not give themselves permission to rest. There's always something we feel like we could be doing or should be doing. So this concept gives us a good reason to try something a different way. Just try it for a month. On your calendar, assign each of the phases a week. You could do this in relation to your period calendar, keeping in mind that it's not going to be exactly 1 week for menstrual, 1 week for follicular, 1 week for ovulation, and 1 week for luteal. But it's just a starting point. You can actually track your moods on your calendar or your energy levels more particularly to you after getting started. Then when you start to understand when you're typically tired, you can give yourself rest because you'll know that you truly feel the need to rest, and it is okay to honor that. The third strategy here of prioritizing and planning proactively is about cutting the chuff, cutting the dead weight, the obligations, the things that you actually do not care about. Going back to your calendar and your to-do list, there are likely a lot of items on there that you don't want to do at your highest energy point, and surely you don't want to do at your lowest energy point. So why are you doing them then? It's good to understand your reasons for doing things, your why. Women have to juggle a lot: work, family, health, wellness, home admin, relationships, and it is impossible to do all of it well. Therefore, there comes a time in every fed-up woman's life when she needs to realize that some of it has to go, and it has to go now. Instead, we overcommit, we say yes when we want to say no, we try to force ourselves to do things we think we should do, and we don't even know why we think we should do it. Are you doing that because you want to appear like a good mom? Are you doing it because you think it will make you a good girl or a better person? Or are you doing it because you think it's the right thing to do, that it matches up with your value system, that it's important to you? Know the difference. We don't spend enough time doing what we love, what we're passionate about. It's time to take inventory of your life. List out all of the items that you dislike doing and you don't want to do, and then cut all of the ones that you can get away with, period. Cut them out. List all of the items that you do love, that you want to do more of, that you don't have time for, and do more of them, period. If you don't want to clean your house ever, then don't. Hire a cleaning person. If you don't want to clean the bathrooms and you can afford it, or make your kids do it to earn their allowance. If there is no one else that you can rely on, maybe just clean less. Who cares? I'm sure you can get away with 1 more week without cleaning the bathroom, and no one will know the difference. Maybe the only one that will know the difference is you. Are you okay with it? Does it bother you? If not, then it sounds like you're happy with your reason for letting the bathroom go. As long as you are okay with your reasons or your decisions, then you're good. Chances are your time would be better spent on other things with a higher return on investment for you, your happiness, your priorities, and the things that you care about the most. For example, time really is money. If you don't have to spend time every week deep cleaning, could you spend more time doing what you love? Maybe that's more time with your kids or working on your new business. Maybe it is just giving yourself some much-deserved self-care. If so, then it's worth it, because getting that time back where you would be cleaning the bathrooms will give you more time to accomplish what you hope to accomplish, whether it's productivity, rest, or family time. So here are the main takeaways. 1, get a handle on your calendar. Actually use a calendar to plan the events and tasks that you have to do. Then on the side, list out all of the nice-to-haves, the tasks, the events, the things you think you should be doing, and put it to the side. If you have time and energy for those, pick them off one by one. And otherwise, don't worry about those things because they're not the most important. Plan your month out according to your cycle sync. If you're on birth control or you're not getting your period, this might be tricky, but you can still track and monitor your energy cycles and use that as a starting point to plan your months. This will inevitably help you alternate the high and low energy weeks in your life. If you're high energy one week, plan for a lower productivity week the next week. You can't be on all of the time. And once you start to see where your high-performing cycles are, you can counteract that with downtime and rest time to ensure that you're not overrun by doing all of the things all of the time. And finally, go back to your nice-to-haves to-do list. The items on there that you don't ever want to do, just permanently scratch them off. If you don't care about them, delegate responsibilities for doing them. Get help. Have other people do the tasks. Get rid of the tasks. Free up your time to focus on what is most valuable to you. I'm kicking off a mini-series on how to feel good in midlife. In each episode, I'll talk about a focus area to help you feel better. If you want help getting unstuck or figuring out how to plan around your priorities or the next big thing about to take up time in your life, reach out to me at theboldlife.coach. I'm happy to help. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If so, give me a follow and a quick review. You can always reach me at theboldlife.coach. See you back here next week at Female and Dangerous.